Hello, my name is Terry Bridges, and I am so honored to be able to share with you tonight some of the background of the naming of the Inn of Court after Leo A. Deegan. I have a wonderful place and a happy place in my heart for the Inn of Court. I was one of the founders together with Judge Sharon Waters. I stayed with it for many years, and I'm currently an emeritus member. It's one of the happiest parts of my practice as a trial lawyer, and the wonderful memories I have from remaining in the inn visit me from time to time. I want to talk to you about how the inn got its name of Leo A. Deegan. We knew, those of us who formed the inn, and particularly Judge Sharon Waters, that we wanted to set an icon in front of the inn to know that this is the person about whom and with whom we will converse and we will model our lives as trial lawyers. Judge Deegan was admired by his colleagues, by his staff, by jurors, and by all of us in the Inns of Court. After we had formed the inn, the question was, what do we name this? And I remember very, very distinctly what the decision was. Judge Deegan had died before we were able to form the court. There was another wonderful judge, Judge John Gabbard, whose statue is outside in the Great Hall. Both of these judges were preeminent human beings and preeminent judicial officers. So those of us in the room were wondering, how do we do this? And Judge Gabbard's hand rose and said, we choose Judge Deegan. Judge Gabbard was that type of a person, but Judge Deegan was the type of the person that everyone absolutely knew he is the one. I want to share with you a typical day of appearing before Judge Deegan. We're in Department 1, and I had many appearances before him in this department. Judge Deegan enhanced your service and your performance as an attorney. If you walked in this courtroom, you wanted to be like him. You wanted people to respect you, and if the truth be known, you wanted people to admire you. And so you were exceptionally prepared that day. Your suit was pressed, your white Oxford cloth shirt was pressed, your shoes were polished very highly. You had rehearsed and rehearsed your oral argument. You were looking forward to it. If somebody asked you, where are you going? You would not say, I have to go to court. You would say, I get to go to Judge Deegan's department. And you felt that in your heart. When you got here, as I mentioned, you would seek out your opposing party and counsel. You would greet them. As I said, you would ask for coffee afterwards. At that time, you would move the settlement ball forward. And you would establish between counsel a first name basis. I'm Terry, opposing counsel is Alexandra. We would meet from time to time in this community to discuss where are we with this case? What can we do to exercise our responsibility to resolve this matter? That's the primary purpose and primary duty and primary responsibility of us as trial lawyers, to resolve the cases as soon as possible, as fair as possible, so that we are not parasites to the problems of our clients. When you went into Judge Deegan's courtroom, you would be greeted by the clerk. You would be greeted by the courtroom personnel. You would be greeted by the bailiff. You would feel happy to be there. You would say hello to all of the people that you knew in the courtroom. You would look forward to it. And the bailiff would set the tone for people who had not appeared before Judge Deegan. He would say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Department 1. We are privileged and honored to have you here. We want you to know that Judge Deegan has thoroughly prepared. He is familiar with the case, but he will want to hear from you, and maybe he'll want to hear from you on different issues. Please limit your time, but there are no exact minute limitations here. Talk as long as you need to do so to adequately represent your client and to respond to Judge Deegan's question. Judge Deegan will be entering soon. Welcome again. Thank you. And then Judge Deegan would enter, and it's amazing. He was straight out of Central Casting. He was tall. He had this wonderful shock of white hair. He had these beautiful blue eyes that shone all through Department 1. And he always had a smile. Always had a smile. He would greet everyone, good morning. He would listen to the arguments. He would ask questions. He would never berate. He would always treat counsel with dignity and respect. And there was a happiness inside the courtroom that you felt. When he came out and he sat down, you knew this is something special. This is why I went to law school. This is what I wanted to obtain. This is what I wanted to be. This is how I wanted to experience it. And you would have that experience. I think I practiced before Judge Deegan, including several trials, or a number of trials, for 10 years. Every time I met him or was with him or argued before him or tried a case before him, he elevated my performance. He made me proud to be an attorney. He made me proud to practice in this small community where everyone knows and respects each other. Judge Deegan would listen respectfully, and he would ask those pointed questions that showed he really prepared the case. When you walked out of Department 1, no matter what, whether you won, whether you lost, particularly if you lost, you would say, this is the way it should be. He heard me, he listened to me, he understood me, he treated me with dignity and respect. Okay, we lost, we go on the next day. How many times do we have that feeling, having coming out on the short end of the argument, that it was a good and honest morning? He gave us that, and he had the rare ability to give us that simply by his smile. I want to share something with you about him. This is hard to do. And I thought and thought, should I do it? The easy answer is no. The hard answer is share it. I was trying a very difficult custody case before Judge Deegan. You know how animated those can be. You know how the emotions are sky high. And they were in this case. My opponent was a challenging individual. He spoke with a snarl. He had no respect. And he was a fighter. Late in the afternoon one day, he made a motion. And Judge Deegan considered it. The motion was for the father, whom I represented, to give up the boy, subject of the custody, to the mother overnight. Well, my concern was he's going to be brainwashed. And as a young lawyer who oftentimes has too much anxiety, I made the mistake of saying, Your Honor, I disagree with that order. I'm going to advise my client not to obey it. I have never forgotten that afternoon. It's a shame that I will never get over. It's a lesson that I learned so many times that helped me so much to be a better lawyer and to never do that again. Well, most judges would have said, Mr. Bridges, would you approach the bench and bring your toothbrush? Not Judge Deegan. He said, ladies and gentlemen, court is adjourned. Over that evening and that night, I knew what I had done. I called opposing counsel at home and apologized to him. The next morning, I apologized to his client. I asked Judge Deegan, I asked if I could have some time before court started. And I apologized to him and to the entire members of the court. Judge Deegan, having not said anything, said, what have you learned from this, Mr. Bridges? I said, I learned that I made a horrible mistake, that my emotions got the most of me, that I lost a sense of professionalism, and it's a lesson that I will never, ever, ever forget. I apologize to you again, Your Honor, to opposing counsel, to his client, and to my client. Judge Deegan smiled. He had that heavenly smile. He said, let's let that be, Mr. Bridges. Now, I could have been yelled at, reamed at, sanctioned, and I would have felt very bad about that. I'm happy to say I was never sanctioned in all of my years, my 50 years of practice. But his continence and his kindness and his sensitivity brought to me a lesson that I will never, ever forget. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I will never, ever forget that. It's like having a good father like I had. You don't want to disappoint him. You don't want to disappoint. You never wanted to disappoint Judge Deegan. You always wanted to give him the best that you had because he always gave you the best that he had. I think it's interesting that one can have such an impression on one person, me, that I had never forgotten. And I've told this story from time to time only to a few people, so I share it with you. I share it in shame, but I share it in the knowledge given to me by Judge Deegan that helped me be a much, much better trial lawyer. You owe a duty to everyone in this courtroom, Terry. You have to be sensitive to everybody. You cannot let your emotions get the best of you. You are a professional. Show it, practice it, example it, if you will. Judge Deegan inspired me when I appeared before him. I did my absolute best. I rose to the occasion and then beyond it. I felt so good after I left. As I said before, you don't want to disappoint Judge Deegan. And it was an extra day when you came out of his courtroom, an extra happy day, an extra good day, that you would go back and walk back to your office and have that feeling, as we talked about, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way the judge is supposed to be. This is the way I'm supposed to be by being a better person every time I go into that courtroom. I have some thoughts. I have some recommendations. Embrace the principles of the inn. Read your charter. Embrace the principles of civility of the state bar. Read them. Talk to your fellow inn members about how better you can be, how better they can be. Find a mentor. That was a great regret of me. I didn't have a mentor. Find a mentor, and it's not a mortal sin to say to somebody who's distinguished, would you be a mentor to me, please? In the latter part of my practice, several people asked me to be a mentor. I joyfully accepted. And we had wonderful mentor-mentee sessions. But make it work. Twice I tried to establish mentor-mentee programs, one for the inn and one for the bar. It didn't work. People were too busy. But dedicate yourself to that and make sure that you will say, here's what I will do. We'll meet once a month. You'll be available by phone. If you're busy, I understand. But I need to learn from you. And I need to learn by your example. Please do that. It helped me so much and can help you so much. Find a model mentor like Judge Deegan. Let your laugh lines return and feel the joy of practicing as you hoped you would in law school, as you hoped you would in your dreams of becoming a lawyer, and as you all hope you will and intend to as members of the Inn of Court. A lot of wonderful things have happened to me in my practice or in my years of practice. The Inn is one of the greatest. It inspired me, it helped other people. I'm always proud to say I was a founding member of the Inn. I'm always proud to brag about Sharon Waters' involvement in that. I've never forgotten her leadership. I've always been, I think, a better lawyer because of it, and I share that with people, that they can have the same experience that I have had. The experience that did not come from me, but came from His Honor, Judge Deegan. What an honor for me to share my thoughts, my feelings, and my heart about someone I deeply love and affects me till today. Thank you.